The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent. 12 different alien species sat in their special chairs, each one designed for their unique bodies. The air felt heavy with tension. Everyone knew this day would change everything. Dae-ho Kim stood alone at the center of the room. He was tall for a human, with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes from years of service. His uniform was clean and pressed, showing his rank as Earth's top ambassador. Behind him sat So-Young Park, a young woman with sharp eyes who had helped him prepare for this day. Chancellor Vextari rose from the highest seat. The crystalline being's body caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. When Vextari spoke, the words came out like music, but the meaning was harsh. Ambassador Kim, Vextari began, humanity stands accused of 3 serious crimes against galactic peace. Dae-ho kept his face calm, but So-Young could see his hands were tight, fists behind his back. They both knew what was coming. First, the Chancellor continued, excessive force during the Void War. Second, breaking the preservation protocols by using banned weapons. Third, showing dangerous warlike behavior that threatens all peaceful species in our galaxy. General, Korthak stood up from his seat. The reptilian being was massive, with scales that looked like armor and eyes like yellow fire. He had been the loudest voice calling for humanity's punishment. These humans, Korthak hissed, they fight like wild animals. They use tactics that no civilized species would even think of. During the war against the Devourers, they broke every rule we have about proper warfare. So-Young wanted to stand up and shout. She wanted to remind them all that human tactics had saved 3 entire worlds from being eaten alive by the parasitic Devourers. She wanted to tell them that sometimes breaking rules was the only way to save lives, but Dae-ho had told her to stay quiet no matter what happened. Another council member spoke. This was Naltek, whose people looked like tall, thin humans, but with blue skin and 4 arms. The humans did help us win the war, Naltek said carefully. Their methods were unusual, but they worked. That's exactly the problem. Korthak slammed his clawed hand on his chair. They think winning is more important than following proper procedures. Today they break war rules to help us. Tomorrow they might break other rules to hurt us. Counselor, Zafira from the water world of Delaney moved her tentacles nervously. Perhaps we should consider... No more discussion, Vextari cut her off. We vote now. All in favor of removing humanity from the Galactic Federation? So-Young counted the raised hands and tentacles and other appendages. 9 species voted yes, only 3 voted no. Her heart sank. Dae-ho finally spoke. His voice was calm and steady. May I ask why you fear us so much? You ask why? Korthak laughed, but it sounded more like a growl. Your people sent soldiers into devourer nests without caring if they lived or died. You used weapons that even the devourers found horrible. You fight like you have nothing to lose. We fight like we have everything to protect, Dae-ho replied. When the devourers were eating the children on Delaney Prime, did you want us to be polite about stopping them? The room went quiet again. Everyone remembered that terrible day when the parasites had almost consumed an entire city of young Delaney. Human soldiers had charged into the nests with experimental weapons, knowing most of them would die. They had saved the children, but the aliens had been scared by how willing humans were to sacrifice themselves. Vexitari's crystal body grew brighter. The vote is final. Humanity is expelled from the Galactic Federation. You have 30 standard days to remove all human presence from council space. Dae-ho nodded slowly. He looked around the room at the aliens he had worked with for 15 years. Some wouldn't meet his eyes. Others looked sad, but did nothing to change the decision. I understand, he said. We came to you seeking partnership. We offered friendship and cooperation. We shared our technology and our knowledge. We bled and died to protect worlds that were not our own. He paused and looked directly at each council member. Since neither partnership nor friendship is wanted, we will find our own way among the stars. So-Young stood up and began gathering their papers. As she did, she whispered numbers under her breath. They sounded like random coordinates, but Daeho knew better. These were the locations of secret human colonies that the Council had never found. Settlements built far from alien space, hidden in dead systems and empty regions of the galaxy. The humans had hoped they would never need these hidden places. They had wanted to be part of the galactic community. But some wise leaders on Earth had prepared for this day. They had known that other species might one day fear humanity too much to accept them. As they walked toward the exit, Ambassador Nalthek caught up with them. "I'm sorry," the four-armed alien said quietly. "This is wrong." "Thank you," Daeho replied. "Take care of yourself, old friend." "What will you do now?" Nalthek asked. Daeho smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "We'll do what humans always do. When we're not wanted, we'll go somewhere else and build something better." So Young looked back at the council chamber one last time. The aliens were already talking about other business, as if the humans had never existed. They had no idea what they had just done. They thought they were getting rid of a problem. Instead, they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. As their ship left the council station, So Young activated her communication device. She sent coded messages to dozens of hidden human outposts across the galaxy. The messages were simple. Protocol 7 is now active. Begin the fade. Daeho watched the council station grow smaller in the distance. "Do you think they'll regret this decision?" So Young asked. "Oh yes," Daeho said softly. "They will regret it very much. But by then, it will be too late." The human ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its passengers toward a future the aliens could not imagine. Behind them, the council continued their meeting, unaware that they had just created their own worst nightmare. They had taken the one species willing to break any rule to protect others and turned them into strangers with no reason to care what happened to the galaxy. The stars watched silently as humanity began to disappear from known space, leaving behind only questions about what they would become in the darkness between worlds. Jinwoo Lee was drinking coffee in his captain's chair when the message arrived. The bridge of the exploration ship New Seoul was quiet during the night shift. Most of his crew was sleeping as they traveled through empty space, mapping new star systems for the Council. The communication came in on a special channel that only Earth Command used for the most important orders. Jinwoo read it 3 times before he believed what he was seeing. Protocol 7. Fade to black. Execute immediately. Jinwoo set down his coffee cup very carefully. His hands were shaking just a little. He had hoped this day would never come, but every human ship captain knew about Protocol 7. They had all trained for it, but no one had wanted to use it. He pressed a button on his chair. All senior staff to the bridge, emergency meeting. Within 10 minutes, his key officers were gathered around him. Hee-Jin Choi, his chief engineer, looked worried. She was young but brilliant, able to fix anything that could break on a starship. Mira Song, their intelligence officer, had already guessed what the meeting was about. Her job was to know things before other people did. Tai Min Han, their science officer, carried his tablet computer everywhere, always studying something new. "We just received activation orders for Protocol 7, Jinwoo told them quietly. Hyejin's face went pale. "They actually did it? The Council kicked us out?" "Yes. We have 30 days to leave all Council space, but we're not going back to Earth. We're going to Grid 7. Mira nodded. She had helped plan some of the hidden human colonies. "How many ships are following Protocol 7? "All of them," Jinwoo replied. "Every human vessel in Council space. We're all disappearing at the same time." Taemin looked confused. "But what about the humans working on alien worlds, the doctors and engineers and teachers?" "Read this." Jinwoo handed him a second message that had come with the first. Taemin read out loud. "All human personnel will complete current duties and transfer responsibilities to local replacements within 72 hours. Reason for departure: family emergency requiring immediate return to Earth. No other explanation to be given." "Family emergency?" Hyejin asked. "It's not really a lie," Mira said with a bitter smile. "The human family is having an emergency. We're being thrown out of our home." Jinwoo stood up and walked to the main screen, which showed the stars ahead of them. Change course for the void sector. Maximum speed, but don't use emergency power. We want to look normal until we're out of sensor range. As Heejin went to adjust their course, Jinwoo thought about all the human settlements that the Council had never discovered. For 30 years, human explorers had been finding dead star systems and empty regions of space. They had quietly built stations and colonies in places where no alien species ever went. The Council thought humans only lived on Earth and a few nearby worlds. They had no idea that humans had spread to over 200 hidden locations across the galaxy. Some were mining stations built inside asteroids. Others were research bases on planets too dangerous for alien species. A few were entire cities built in the empty space between galaxies. "Captain," Mira said, looking at her intelligence reports, "I'm getting confirmation signals from human operations all across Council space. The medical station on Vex Prime just went offline. The engineering teams on Korthak's homeworld have already left. The trade depot in the spiral arm just closed. For maintenance." Jinwoo nodded. "What about the security monitoring?" "I'm uploading the ghost viruses now," Mira replied, typing quickly on her computer. "These will stay hidden in the Council's data networks. We'll know everything they do for the next 5 years at least." The ghost viruses were Mira's specialty creation. They looked like normal maintenance programs, but they secretly copied all important Council communications and sent the information to hidden human receivers. The aliens would never know that humans were still watching them. "Engineering report," Jinwoo called. "We're at maximum normal speed," Hyejin answered from her station. "But Captain, I want to start working on Project Ghost Ship while we travel." Project Ghost Ship was something Hyejin had been developing in secret. During the war against the Devourers, human engineers had studied the alien parasites' technology. The Devourers could make their ships almost invisible by bending space around them. Hyejin had figured out how to copy this trick. "Do it," Jinwoo agreed. "How long until we can test it?" "Give me 2 weeks," Hyejin said. "If it works, no Council sensors will be able to find us, even if they're looking right at us." Taemin was reading reports on his tablet. "Captain, the Exodus is going even better than we planned. Humans were running more systems than the Council realized. When our people leave, it's going to cause major problems." "What kind of problems?" Jinwoo asked. "Water purification on 3 Delaney worlds depends on human-designed systems. The main hospital on Vex Prime has human doctors performing 70% of the difficult surgeries. The defense grid around Korthak's homeworld was maintained by human engineers." Jinwoo almost felt sorry for the aliens. Almost. But they had made their choice. "Any word from the colonies?" he asked Mira. "Grid 7 confirms they're ready to receive us. Grid 12 reports successful expansion of their shipyards. Grid 19 says their new weapons testing is ahead of schedule." Jinwoo smiled. The hidden colonies had been busy while the Council debated whether humans were too dangerous. Humans had been building ships the aliens had never seen, developing weapons the aliens didn't know existed, and establishing supply networks that stretched across the galaxy. "Time to the void sector?" he asked. 6 days at current speed," Heejin replied. "Good. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the new Soul is proceeding to Grid 7 as ordered. Tell them we'll be ready to begin Phase 2 within 1 month." Taemin looked up from his tablet. "What's Phase 2? Jinwoo looked at his officers. These people had become his family during their years of exploring together. They trusted him, completely, and he trusted them. "Phase 2 is when we start building the future. The Council thinks they're getting rid of a problem. They don't realize they just set us free." 3 days later, the new Soul crossed into the void sector, a region of space so empty and dark that most aliens were afraid to travel there. Council sensors could no longer detect them. They were officially disappeared. Heejin had been working non-stop on the ghost ship modifications. "I think it's ready for testing," she announced. "Do it," Jinwoo ordered. Heejin activated her new system. On the main screen, the stars seemed to shimmer for a moment. Then everything looked normal again. "How do we know it worked?" Taemin asked. Mira was monitoring all sensor frequencies. "According to our own sensors, we just vanished," If our equipment can't see us, neither can anyone else's. Jinwoo felt a surge of pride in his crew. Excellent work. Now let's go see what Grid 7 has built while we were away. When they arrived at Grid 7 3 days later, Jinwoo could hardly believe his eyes. The hidden colony had grown into a massive space station built inside a hollowed-out moon. Hundreds of ships moved around it like busy insects. Some of the ships had designs he had never seen before. "Welcome to New Terra," came a voice over the communication system. "This is Admiral Subin Kang. We've been waiting for you." As the new Sol docked with the huge station, Jinwoo realized that humanity hadn't just been expelled from the galaxy. They had been set free to become something much more powerful than the Council could imagine. The aliens had wanted them gone. Soon, they would wish they had never made that choice. Counselor Zafira floated in her special water tank, but she could not rest. The communication device next to her tank kept making urgent sounds. Each message brought worse news from her homeworld. "Counselor," came the voice of her assistant. "We have another water purification failure. This time it's the main system on Delaney Prime." Zephyr's tentacles moved in distress patterns. This was the third major system failure in 2 months. What did the technicians say? The same thing they always say. The human-designed systems are too complex. They don't understand how all the parts work together. Zephyrah remembered Dr. Seok Jin, the human engineer who had designed those systems. He had been quiet and polite, always willing to explain how things worked. But when the humans left, he had given all his technical manuals to Velshan, a young Delaney engineer. The manuals had thousands of pages, but they didn't explain everything. Dr. Yu had understood the systems at a deep level that came from years of experience. Velshan was smart, but reading about something was not the same as truly understanding it. "How many people are affected?" Zephyrah asked. 2 million Delaney on the main continent. The backup systems can keep them alive for maybe 10 days. 10 days. Zephyrah felt sick. Her people needed clean water every few hours or they would die. The human systems had worked perfectly for 15 years without any problems. Now, 6 months after the humans left, everything was breaking down. She activated her communication device and called Chancellor Vextari. The crystal being appeared on her screen, looking as calm as always. "Chancellor," Zephyrah began, "I need to request emergency assistance. Our water systems are failing." "Can't your own people fix them?" Vextari asked. "The systems were designed by humans. Our engineers don't fully understand how they work. Then they will have to learn quickly." Zephyrah wanted to scream. "Chancellor, 2 million of my people could die. I will send what technical experts we have available," Vextari replied. "But you must understand this is exactly why we had to remove the humans. We were becoming too dependent on them." After the call ended, Zephyrah floated alone in her tank, thinking about the irony. The Council had expelled humans because they were afraid of depending on them. Now they were discovering just how much they had already been depending on them. Across the galaxy, similar problems were appearing everywhere. On the mining world of Korath, the extraction operations had slowed to barely half their normal production. The human geologist had known exactly where to dig and how to process the rare metals. The alien replacements were good at following instructions, but they couldn't adapt when conditions changed. Admiral Kor then reviewed the mining reports with growing worry. These metals were essential for building starships and weapons. If production stayed this low, the Council's military would start having serious supply problems within a year. But the mining reports were not his biggest concern. Kor then was looking at military readiness assessments, and the numbers were terrifying. 40% of the Council's elite special forces had been human. These soldiers were gone now, along with their specialized training and experience. The humans had been the ones who developed new tactics and trained other species in advanced combat techniques. 60% of the best starship engineers had been human. These were the people who could fix anything, modify weapon systems, and keep ships running in combat conditions. Finding replacements would take years, maybe decades. 70% of strategic planning staff had been human. These were the people who studied enemy tactics, predicted what would happen in battles, and figured out how to win wars. Without them, The Council's military was like a body without a brain. Korthen called his assistant. Get me a meeting with General Korthak immediately. When Korthak arrived, Korthen showed him the reports. The reptilian general read in silence, his yellow eyes growing wider with each page. This cannot be correct, Korthak finally said. I checked the numbers 3 times, Korthen replied. We didn't just lose some humans. We lost our most important humans, the ones who made everything else work. Korthak sat down heavily. He had been one of the loudest voices calling for human expulsion. Surely we can train replacements. In time, yes. But training takes years. And we're already starting to see problems. Kor then activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked locations where systems were failing or operating below normal efficiency. Medical facilities on 12 worlds are having problems with complex surgeries. Engineering projects are behind schedule on 28 worlds. Our intelligence networks are reporting gaps in coverage across 3 entire sectors. What about diplomatic relations? Korthak asked. That might be the worst problem of all. Humans were our cultural translators. They were the only species that could really understand all the other species. Without them, we're having misunderstandings and conflicts that we used to avoid. As if summoned by their conversation, an urgent alert appeared on Korthen's communication device. He read it and felt his stomach drop. What is it? Korthak asked. Long-range sensors have detected something at the edge of Council space. Devourer. Scout ships. Korthak stood up quickly. That's impossible. We defeated them completely in the last war. Apparently not. And according to this report, their ships have new technology. They're more advanced than the Devourers we fought before. Both military leaders stared at the sensor data. The Devourers had been the galaxy's greatest threat until humans found ways to defeat them. Human tactics, human weapons, and human willingness to sacrifice everything had won that war. Now the Devourers were back and the humans were gone. We need to increase patrol activity in all border regions, Korthen said. With what ships? Korthak asked bitterly. Half our patrol vessels are in repair facilities because we don't have enough qualified engineers to maintain them properly. Then, we use whatever ships we have, commanded by officers trained by humans using tactics developed by humans, with weapons maintained by… Oh wait, we sent all the humans away. Korthak was finally understanding the full scope of what they had done. The Council hadn't just expelled a troublesome species, they had cut out their own heart. There's something else, Korthen said quietly. The timing of this Devourer return seems very convenient, almost like they were waiting for something. Waiting for what? For the humans to be gone. The 2 military leaders looked at each other as the terrible possibility sank in. Had the Devourers been monitoring Council politics? Had they known that expelling humans would leave the galaxy defenseless? We need to contact the other Council members, Korthak said. They need to understand what we're facing. Do you think they'll listen? Most of them are dealing with their own problems right now. They'll listen when Devourer ships start attacking their worlds. Korthen looked at the tactical display again. The red dots marking system failures were spreading across the galaxy like a disease. And now, at the edges of known space, new red dots were appearing. Devourer scouts testing Council defenses and finding them weak. Admiral, Korthak said slowly, we may have made the biggest mistake in galactic history. May have, Korthen replied. General, I think that's exactly what we did. The question now is whether we can fix it before everything falls apart. Outside the window of the military headquarters, the stars looked the same as always. But both leaders knew that somewhere out there, in the dark spaces between worlds, humanity was watching, and the humans had no reason to help the people who had thrown them away. The galaxy was starting to crack, and the only people who knew how to fix it were the ones the Council had decided they didn't want anymore. Fleet Admiral Subin Kang stood on the bridge of the Inshan Rising and watched 200 human warships move through the darkness between galaxies. The massive dreadnought was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Its hull was black as space itself covered with armor that could bend energy weapons away from the ship. "Status report," she ordered. Commander Bo-Ra Kim stepped forward. She was small but tough, with scars on her hands from years of special operations work. "All ships report ready for Phase 3 operations, Admiral. Ghost ship technology is working perfectly. Council sensors can't detect us even when we're right next to their space stations." Su-bin nodded. The ghost ship modifications had worked better than anyone hoped. Human fleets could now move through Council space completely invisible. They were like phantoms, watching everything but never being seen. "What about our intelligence networks?" Su-bin asked. "Commander Song's viruses are still active in all Council systems," Bo-Ra replied. "We know everything they're planning before. They do. The water crisis on Delani Prime, the mining problems on Korath, the military readiness reports. We have copies of all their data." Su-bin smiled grimly. While the Council struggled with failing systems, humanity had been building an empire in the darkness. Not the scattered colonies the aliens imagined, but a true interstellar civilization that stretched from one side of the galaxy to the other. "Signal Dr. Young-Ho Nam," she ordered. "I want his latest report on the Devourer research." Dr. Nam appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but excited, the way scientists always looked when they discovered something important. Behind him, Su-bin could see the research station hidden in the Void Nebula, where human scientists had been studying captured Devourer technology for years. "Admiral," Dr. Nam began, "we've had a major breakthrough. We've found their weakness." "Tell me." "The Devourers communicate through quantum neural networks. All their ships and creatures are connected by these networks, but we've discovered that a specific electromagnetic frequency can disrupt these connections." "How specific?" Su-bin asked. "Very specific. And here's the important part. The frequency has to be generated by quantum resonators that are calibrated to human neural patterns. Alien brains work differently. They can't create the exact signal needed to disrupt Devourer networks." Su-bin felt a chill of understanding. "You're saying only humans can operate anti-Devourer weapons?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. We've tested it extensively. Other species can build the devices if we give them the plans, but they can't make them work. The quantum resonance requires human consciousness to function properly. How many devices can we build? We've already built enough to equip 1,000 ships. Give us 6 more months, and we can have 10,000. Su-bin thanked Dr. Nam and closed the communication. This was the final piece of the puzzle. Humanity didn't just have better ships and better tactics than the Council. They had the only weapons that could stop the Devourers. "Admiral," came a voice from the communication station, "we're receiving a priority message from Grid 17. "Put it through." The message was from engineer Dong-Hyun Park, humanity's most brilliant ship designer. "Admiral, the prototype is ready for testing." Su-bin had been waiting for this news for months. "We'll be there in 6 hours." The Incheon Rising and its escort fleet changed course for Grid 17, a hidden shipyard built inside a cluster of asteroids. When they arrived, Su-bin was amazed by what she saw. The prototype ship was enormous, larger than any vessel in the Council fleet, but what made it special wasn't its size. As Su-bin watched, the ship seemed to flicker and become transparent. Engineer Park met them at the docking bay. He was young for such an important position, but his designs had revolutionized human shipbuilding. "Admiral," he said proudly, "I present the Soul Phantom, the first ship capable of partial phase displacement." "Explain that in simple terms," Su-bin requested. "The ship can shift partially out of normal space. When it's phased, energy weapons pass right through it without causing damage. Physical projectiles can't touch it, but our own weapons can still fire out from the phased state." "That's impossible," Commander Bo-Ra said. "It should be impossible," Park agreed. "But we learned the technique from studying Devourer bioships. They use organic quantum fields to phase in and out of reality. We've built mechanical systems that do the same thing." Su-bin walked around the massive ship, studying its strange hull design. "What about the dark matter weapons?" "Fully integrated. The Soul Phantom can fire concentrated dark matter projectiles that ignore most known defensive systems. One shot can destroy a council battleship. And the AI systems? The new artificial intelligence can predict enemy movements with 97% accuracy. It processes battle data faster than any biological brain. Subin was impressed, but she had one more question. How many ships like this can we build? We're already building 50 more. The hidden shipyards at Grid 5, Grid 9, and Grid 23 are all working on similar vessels. Within 2 years, we'll have a fleet that could defeat the entire Council Navy. As they toured the ship, Subin thought about how much humanity had changed since their expulsion. The aliens had seen humans as dangerous because they were unpredictable and aggressive. But being thrown out of the galaxy had made humans something much more dangerous, desperate, and innovative. Admiral, Commander Bora said, we're receiving urgent intelligence from our spies in Council space. Subin read the report quickly. Her expression grew serious. The Devourers aren't just returning. They're coordinating with someone inside the Council. What do you mean? Park asked. Our intelligence networks have detected secret communications between Devourer ships and an unknown source in Council space. Someone has been feeding them information about Council defenses and military capabilities. Bora understood immediately. That's why they attacked right after we were expelled. Someone wanted us gone before the Devourers returned. But who would work with the Devourers? Park asked. They're parasites that eat entire civilizations. Someone who thinks they can control them, Subin replied. Or someone who hates the Council enough to destroy it. Subin walked to the bridge of the Soul Phantom and looked out at the hidden fleet surrounding them. Hundreds of advanced human warships floated in the darkness, invisible to Council sensors. Each ship was crewed by humans who had been branded as too dangerous for civilized space. Set course for Council space, she ordered, but we're not going as conquerors. We're going as observers. Admiral, Bora asked, we're going to watch the galaxy burn, and when the Council realizes they need us, we'll be there to discuss terms. The human fleet began moving toward the edge of known space. But they weren't the same species that had been expelled months ago. They had evolved into something the aliens couldn't understand or predict. They had become the ghosts of galactic civilization, watching from the shadows as the galaxy learned what happened when you threw away the only people willing to break any rule to protect others. The Council had wanted them gone because they were dangerous. Now they were about to discover just how dangerous humans could be when they had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. In the darkness between stars, humanity prepared to remind the galaxy why some species should be feared, respected, and never, ever abandoned when the monsters came calling from the void. Chancellor Vextari stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, but the crystal being's usually calm demeanor was cracking. The holographic display behind Vextari showed a map of the galaxy covered in red warning symbols. Each red symbol represented a world that had gone silent in the past month. 17 worlds, Vextari announced to the gathered representatives. 17 entire civilizations consumed by devourer swarms in just 30 days. The council chamber was filled with fear and panic. Species that had lived in peace for generations were now facing extinction. Emergency broadcasts continued to flood in from across the galaxy, each one bringing worse news. Ambassador Nalthek raised one of his forearms. His blue skin looked pale with worry. Chancellor, what are our military forces doing to stop this? General, Korthak answered from his seat. The proud reptilian warrior looked defeated. Our forces are inadequate. The Devourers have adapted to all our standard tactics. Every strategy we try, they seem to know about it before we even implement it. How? Is that possible? Asked Counselor Zephyra from her water tank. Intelligence suggests they have been studying our military for years, Korthak replied bitterly. They know how we think, how we fight, how we plan. Everything except... Except what? Vextari demanded. Except how humans fight. Humans were the only species that used tactics the Devourers couldn't predict. Human strategies were too chaotic, too willing to sacrifice everything for victory. The parasites never learned to counter human methods because human methods don't follow logical patterns. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The same unpredictable aggression that had made the Council fear humans was exactly what they needed now. Emergency Coordinator Wix, a thin insectoid being, activated a new holographic display. The situation is worse than we initially reported. Our analysis shows that the Devourers are using quantum link technology to share information instantly across their entire network. When one Devourer learns something, they all know it within minutes. What does that mean for our defenses? Nalthek asked. It means traditional military tactics are useless, Wix replied. Every time we try a strategy, the Devourers adapt and counter it immediately. We need tactics that are so unpredictable that even instant communication can't help them prepare. We need human tactics, Korthak said quietly. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Everyone in the chamber knew what Korthak meant, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Counselor Zafira finally spoke. We expelled them, why would they help us now? They might not, Vexitari admitted, but we have to try. Nalthek, you voted against the expulsion. Will you attempt to make contact? Nalthek nodded slowly. I'll try to find them. But Chancellor, we may not like what we find. The humans have been in exile for almost a year. They may have changed. Changed? How? Wix asked. Humans adapt quickly to new situations. If we threw them out of civilized space, they probably built something new in uncivilized space. 3 days later, Nalthek's ship left Council space heading for the Outer Rim. He was traveling alone in a small, fast vessel designed for long-range exploration. His mission was to find humanity and beg for help, but he had no idea where to look. For weeks, he followed rumors and sensor echoes. Traders spoke of strange ships seen in the void sectors. Mining stations reported equipment malfunctions that might have been sabotage. Deep space sensors occasionally detected energy signatures that didn't match any known technology. Finally, in a dead system at the edge of the galaxy, Nalthek found something impossible. His sensors detected a massive artificial structure hidden in the shadow of a gas giant. The structure was so large it could have housed millions of people, but it didn't appear on any Council star charts. As Nalthek approached, his communication system activated without his input. A human voice spoke to him. Ambassador Nalthek, you are far from home. I'm looking for humanity, Nalthek replied. We need to talk. Humanity is no longer part of the galaxy you know. State your business. The Devourers have returned. They're destroying everything. The Council needs help. There was a long pause. Then a new voice came over the communication system. Nalthek recognized it immediately. Hello, old friend, said Daeho Kim. Daeho, thank the stars you're alive. The galaxy is in chaos. 17 worlds have been consumed. Our fleets can't stop them. You need us. Daeho interrupted. The same humans you called too dangerous for. Civilized space. Yes, Nalthek said simply. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. You made several mistakes, Daeho replied. Would you like to see what we've built while you were busy regretting your choices? Nalthek's ship was guided to a docking bay, inside the massive structure. When he stepped out, he couldn't believe what he saw. The station was enormous, with multiple levels stretching as far as he could see. Humans walked the corridors alongside machines he didn't recognize. The technology was clearly more advanced than anything in Council space. Daeho met him at the docking bay, but he looked different. Older, more confident, wearing a uniform that Nalthek had never seen before. Welcome to New Terra, Daeho said, capital of the Human Colonial Federation. How big is? Nalthek struggled to find words. 200 worlds and counting. 50 million humans in hidden colonies across the galaxy. A fleet that makes the Council Navy look like toys? Daeho smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. We've been busy. You've built an empire, Nalthek whispered. We built what we needed to survive without you. The question is, what are you offering us to come back? Nalthek had prepared a speech about partnership and cooperation, but looking at the advanced technology around him, those words seemed foolish. What do you want? Complete surrender, Daeho said bluntly. The Council admits they were wrong. Humanity gets full membership with veto power over all major decisions, reparations for the damage caused by expulsion, and military command authority during the crisis. I don't have the authority to agree to those terms. Then go back and get it. While you're gone, we'll be watching 17 more worlds get eaten by parasites that only we know how to fight. You have weapons that can stop them? We have the only weapons that can stop them. The Devourers communicate through quantum neural networks. We've developed technology that can disrupt those networks, but it only works with human neural patterns. Other species can't operate our anti-devourer weapons. Nalthek felt a chill of understanding. You're saying we need you to survive. I'm saying you never should have thrown us away in the first place, but yes, if you want to stop the Devourers, you need us. The question is, what are you willing to give up to get us back? As Nalthek prepared to return to Council space, he realized that humanity had won the greatest victory in galactic history. They had been cast out as dangerous outsiders, and they had used that exile to become the galaxy's only hope for survival. The Council had tried to get rid of their problem. Instead, they had created their salvation. But salvation was going to come at a price that would change everything. When Nalthek's ship left New Terra, he carried with him the knowledge that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had evolved beyond what anyone could have imagined, and they were no longer asking for a place at the table. They were demanding to own the table, and everyone else would have to decide if they wanted to sit at it or be consumed by the darkness that was spreading across the stars.